So you left the agency. What was it that made you take that jump at that point?
I don't know. It was a combination of things. I think I'd obviously been there for longer than any other job that I'd had.
Apart from running your own business.
Yeah, it's true. That is true. But it was, and I had a lot of freedom there. So it wasn't like the pull of working for myself was the biggest attraction, because actually I did have a lot of freedom there, and I had a team under me. So I think it was seeing how that business had grown, and being so close to it. The thought of being able to do that again would, for me, is a huge achievement, and that's kind of what I'm trying to aspire to do. But do it in a slightly different way. Obviously, they're a hugely successful business, but they've kind of grown into this mammoth agency. Whereas I think my approach now is to do it slightly differently, and to not try and grow that big. And if we do ultimately grow to a size similar to theirs, then we'll look at having isolated offices and things like that. I think.
So you want to spread out so you can get a bigger geographical territory, access more markets.
Yeah, a lot of what we do is working with local agencies. So being in Bournemouth is great because of that, but we're going to hit a threshold, and we already work with agencies around the UK, and I think we've got a better opportunity of growing if we were to kind of spread geographically, not only in the UK but abroad as well. And I think, being selfish, the plan of growing abroad gives me that opportunity to travel a bit that I never managed to do all those years ago.
There's no judgment from here. I think that's a great idea. Mix the two together, and you get to choose some wonderful places.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere in your sights abroad?
I've got a big passion for the Middle East, mainly because my family moved out there 9-10 years ago. So I've got a good understanding of the Middle East and contacts out there, so that's I suppose an easy first step for me. But ultimately, I've never had experience of working in the States, and I'd love to have that opportunity, whether it be kind of New York or Texas. I think it would be a great thing that I could do, and another challenge, I suppose. And if we can master the model here, then it would be a really good opportunity to try and do the same out there, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the plan, I think. But we'll see, and I'm in no rush to get there. We've grown organically at this point, which has been really nice.
Now you're 2 years in. When you started the business, you took the leap of faith. You saved some money. Did you have something supporting you?
I had a buffer, definitely, and it was just kind of savings account. And although I didn't need to dip into it, the money that we started to get into the business over the first couple of months, I left in the business because I never knew when we might need it. And I suppose I've still got that approach of that I haven't taken a penny out of the business since I started it.
Apart from salary?
And enough to pay the rent and the mortgage, I suppose.
Rent and the mortgage. Two places already at 30.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's enough to kind of to have a nice lifestyle. But
not being frivolous with it.
Exactly, and the idea is that I much prefer to keep the money in the business and allow the business to grow. And ultimately, you're going to have times where you need that cash flow, especially being in the agency model where it's up and down all the time, and you see agencies unfortunately falling off the map every couple of months. And it's because it's project by project basis, and you can go for a couple of months with some great projects, but suddenly you lose a client or you have a couple of quiet months, then you need that cash flow to fall back on.
And there a lot of businesses, I'm not saying just your industry, but we all get to see in our industries a lot of people who suddenly go through a boom and then start doing very silly things with the money. It does come up again and again, and it seems to be more of it. I don't know. I don't know if there's been a change in social media or perpetuating this, desire to be an entrepreneur. But for some reason, there seems to be a lot of stories of people, as soon as they get the money in, just doing mad things with it. And then popping overnight. And I can't get... everyone we've interviewed so far has had basically the same mentality you've just described, which is, I want the business to do well. I want to grow it. I want to succeed. And I don't need crap, basically. What's the point?
I think the desire of showing off, which is effectively what social media is these days. It's all about who's got the nicest car and the biggest watch, basically. These people feel that being able to do that is going to make them look more successl. So therefore, that's their achievement, I suppose.
So I suppose it must be some sort of defence barrier. I mean, they get to a point where I don't know. They trying to convince themselves, because I think there's obviously a lot of people out there that do fall for it, and think, so and so has got a brand new Mercedes, but we all know that you could put a 40 grand Mercedes on the drive tomorrow with the latest number plate and pay 200 quid a month for it.
True.
That's not success, in my opinion.
No.
And if we all know that, then why is that something still people do?
No, I don't know. And I think that the biggest thing for me is if I went out and did that, then I've been in the shoes of being a member of staff. And the first thing I would think as a member of staff, if my boss is buying a Ferrari, is, okay, well, where's my pay rise? Why isn't some of that being distilled down to the people actually doing the job? I think everyone deserves to treat themselves when you succeed and when you win something big, big contract and stuff like that. But I think a lot of people too easily forget about the members of staff and who's actually doing the work, I suppose. And how fragile business is. We see it all the time, and it's not just in the SME market. We see big companies go to the wall all the time as well. People doing silly things with them, living from month to month, quarter to quarter. And I think it's easier for bigger businesses, because bigger businesses that have been around for a couple of years can quite easily go to the banks and go, oh, can I borrow an extra 50, 100 grand, cover their cash flow for a month or two. For a smaller business with less of accounting history and less of a turnover in the previous years, the banks are much less likely to give you kind of a scapegoat. So bigger businesses tend to get away with it, or they ride it. They can go for a couple of years of making a loss. As a small business, you can't do that. 1 or 2 years in making a loss, and unfortunately you have to pack up shop. So it's much harder when you're starting out.
So you've made it through the first 2 years. You're obviously very careful with your money, and you're very careful with the business. And how's it been building the right team? I've asked a number of people this, and they've said, well, you've got to have that sort of like relationship with you've got to gravitate towards people. And if you don't, and there's no trust, then it's very difficult to give them trust to let go of, let go of the reins and give them roles that they're going to undertake almost on their own. So you've grown into a team of, is it 8 or 9 now?
9. I think it'll be 10 next month as well.
10 next month in 2 years, which is, you say you're growing organically and trying to take things slowly. That's pretty fast.
It is, certainly. I don't see it as fast, which is weird.
Well, no, you're used to running a business at 13.
Yeah,
so.
That's true. No, I don't see it as fast. I think the thing is that for the first year it was pretty much myself and one other person. So I suppose if you look at it that way and think actually we've grown from 2 people to 10 people in a year, it does seem fast.
You had to just make it sound more impressive, didn't you? Well done. No, fair play to you. I can't knock you for it.
But I think it's because it hasn't been forced. We haven't kind of been given a pot of cash and just of investment and told to go and grow as a business. We've had to get used to building a team, and whether that be kind of different skill levels in the team, different structure. I think from being at my old agency, we hired people a lot of the time on culture and the right culture fit rather than the right skill set, and that's really distilled through to what I do these days. I interviewed someone this week, for example, who is the perfect fit for a new developer role, hasn't got a day's worth of development experience under his belt, but actually he's so much more appealing to me as a new employee than a developer that might have been doing it for 4 years but can't speak to a customer. So
right mentality,
exactly.
Right personality, good fit for the team. As long as they're driven, you can teach the skills.
Completely. I mean, development you can teach. Unfortunately, you can't teach a good mentality and having a desire to want to work and get up in the morning and passion. Most of my guys will be there till 7, 8 o'clock at night. Not because I'm asking them to do, because they actually
lock the door
from
the outside.
Because they can't get out.
Bars on the window.
It's a proven method. But it's
but they're committed to you and your business,
yeah.
and I assume you make life good for them as well. You know, with the rough there is the smooth.
Yeah,
so,
completely.
You know, you look after them when they've given it their all to meet deadlines, support clients, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and when we do as much as possible, whether it's socially or in the office, and time off here and there, and taking a 3-hour lunch break because they're meeting a friend. It's a very laid back atmosphere.
3-hour lunch break is taking a holiday. That's a lot lunch break.
But when they're there working 3 hours extra every single day, I'm not counting that, so it shouldn't be fair that I'm counting them spending 10 minutes extra on a lunch break and things. So,
but then with good staff, you don't need to count the hours. You don't need to watch them because you know they're working hard.
If you've got the right staff with the right mentality, then you don't need to be monitoring them all the time. You give them that trust, and especially as the business is growing, I want to be out the office more. I need to be out the office more.
Yeah. You're still very much the face of the business.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not going to change anytime soon. And so I need people in the office to be being proactive and getting stuff done and not playing table tennis all day, although they play table tennis most of the day. They're still getting their job done.
Yeah, I mean, if you put a table tennis table in the office, that's kind of your fault.
Yeah.
Don't think you can blame the staff for that.
No, true. Yeah, no, I didn't put it there just to gather dust, I suppose.
So you create the right environment for your staff. You built a team very, very quickly. It sounds like you're very happy with your team. You're not coming in here and sort of, oh my God, you know, what am I going to do next? You're hiring the next person. You're not replacing people. So that's
I mean, we've had a few members of staff that didn't work out for various reasons. They weren't the right skill set, or they just didn't fit in personally, and that's never nice as a small business. But as a small business, sometimes you have to be a bit more clinical. Unfortunately, holding on to a member of staff for 6 months longer is a huge kind of chunk out your cash flow. And you have to make kind of clinical decisions sometimes. And I think that's one thing I've learned from it being my own business, is that you feel that you need to be a bit more ruthless sometimes. And ultimately, the staff salaries are coming out of your pocket, I suppose. So when something's not going right, you need to make a decision. You need to make it straight away. When you're just a director of another business, I suppose it's not your money. You're still getting a salary at the end of the month.
There is a certain detachment when you don't own the company. You're answering to shareholders and bosses or international head offices or whatever it may be. But
Yeah.
We had this conversation. I had this conversation with somebody recently, and they pretty much said the same thing. They said it doesn't matter if they take somebody out for dinner. It doesn't matter whether they take them out for a business meal on the business or they pay out of their own account. It's their money at the end of the day,
completely.
and that's something you never detach from.
No.
And yeah, I suppose you can't.
No,
you
no,
know,
not at all. It's yeah, and especially when it's your own business, and it's not only your money, but it's your life and soul, and you do end up kind of living and breathing it, and yeah, it turns. I mean, I never worked 9 to 5 when I was at my previous agency, but yeah, the idea of a day's work doesn't exist anymore. It is a 24-hour thing.
There's going to be a number of different people who are watching this who are about to make the jump, or they've just made it, or they're a year or two in, they're really feeling the pressure. They're probably not having the level of success that you've had. I'm sure you've had your own pressures along the way. But and very few are likely to have had your early starts. But what advice would you be looking to give them? So far we've had people saying, just keep driving forward, make sure you have a good plan, understand before you start that you're going to be committing your life to this. I think a lot of people start their own venture, tell the boss to sod off, I'm going to go and start my own business, I can be an entrepreneur, because there's so much push them in the social media these days that they're like, well, anybody can do it. Yep. And actually we're all still being pushed the odd success story that pops up, and there's lots and lots of people getting it wrong. I think Magnus in one of our previous interviews said that he regularly sees, I think it was cafes and restaurants and shops pop up, and then within a year they're gone, and it's because they haven't got their market right. They didn't actually know who they were going after and who they were selling to. So on top of this requirement to be absolutely devoted, what would you say to somebody who's embarking on this journey?
Good luck.
And you're on your own.
I think one of the biggest things that I still struggle with, and I think it's one of those ones that you can only get used to over time, is failures. So failures for us is kind of not winning a project, or upsetting a client, or not getting the right member of staff, or losing a member of staff to another agency, for example. And I will still beat myself up every time we get a failure, and it puts me down for a couple of days. And if we lose a project, for example, that I was that close to getting, it really kind of hits me down. And actually it's the wrong attitude to take, and I should look at it as a business and go, well, we've got to this point by growing, by winning projects and growing organically, I suppose. So there is no need to rush it. I think that's the thing, is that as long as you don't need to grow, as long as you're happy and successful in your own right. And people look at success in different ways. People look at success.
I was going to ask, how do you deem success? Because a lot of people have come on and said, success to me is just enjoying my life.
Yeah, completely. I mean,
I find it bizarre that people say, I'm going to work really hard so I can pay off the mortgage and then, have an easy life when I retire. And I'm thinking, I might not make it that far. I'm a healthy individual, but none of us know what tomorrow holds.
No,
so it's far more important that instead of having some, job that I tolerate and work on 9 to 5 and stick out and then maybe move on to another company, I want to be enjoying here and now.
Yeah, certainly. I think it's so important. I mean, people say all the time about going to a job that you enjoy and being happy to get up in the morning. And that's as stressful it is running your own business. And the stresses don't change whether you're one man on your own or you've got 10 members of staff. They don't change. It's that enjoyment and enjoying what you do, and I massively love what I do. But success, I see success as enjoying what you do, but I also always want to improve. I always want to get to the next level. And I think that's why I get knocked back by failures, is because that's another step further away from where I want to get to, I suppose. And whether, like I say, whether it is losing a project or a member of staff, it's another step back that goes, oh, actually, I'm going to have to spend another month doing that, and that, I suppose, and it drives you on the success factor. I mean, I don't know where I'm going to be in a couple of years' time, but as long as I'm still running a business that is being able to pay for people's salaries and stuff like that, then I suppose that is success in my mind. Yeah, I've completely lost what I was just about to say.
That's okay. We had an interview a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was with David Ford, and he said, "Oh, I think I've forgotten what the question was," and so had I.
Yeah.
So we both gone on.
You
for
go
some
down a
time.
path and you go, yeah, what was I talking about?
But the question literally was what you finished on, which was, how do you find it to define success? Now, I think a lot of the people that come in here and speak to us would say that actually, there are some things, we don't know how long we've got, we don't know how long we're going to be around for. Things come around the corner all the time that we can't predict, and the best thing you can be doing is enjoying every day.
Yeah.
Because then it doesn't matter how much time you've got. If you do want that Ferrari or that mansion, or you want to travel the world, or you want to set up offices in other countries, whatever it is, as long as you're enjoying the journey, it doesn't kind of matter how long it takes, or
exactly that.
or if you even achieve it,
Yeah.
because there's so many other wonderful things that come along in life that you don't need money for.
Yeah, no, entirely. I think I set up the business literally 3 months after having my baby girl, so that was one of the biggest drivers for me to start with, was being able to provide for her, but put a roof over her head. And that was certainly one of the biggest get up and goes, I think, when I was first having the business, more so than the drive to be successful, I suppose, and that will never change, but yeah, you do kind of look at success as, I want to get to that point to succeed, and when you get to that point, you go, actually, I'm going to raise the bar slightly. So I don't know whether you'll ever kind of be happy with success.
I think as people move along in life, I hope, because I've got a few friends around me and people we work with who have that mentality, and I always do kind of hope that they find a point of fulfillment, because I think it's probably quite difficult to go through life, or constantly moving the bar and then looking forward as opposed to just sitting back and enjoying now.
Yeah,
and it doesn't mean that you're not, or anybody else we speak to isn't, but it's like drinking from a glass of water and never quenching your thirst. Yes, it's good to drive you, but at the same time, you do need to occasionally sit back and just kind of feel fulfilled.
Yeah, completely. I think that's a really good point, is that you work all hours of the day to succeed, but you never have any time to actually enjoy that success.
So come on, what do you do to relax then?
What do I do to relax?
We've had people who do cycling and windsurfing, and we've spoken to people before who do meditation. I mentioned that I like going in the garage and building cars and stuff. That's still, and all of these were still people. I think Mark Cribb said that he goes cycling, and then he mentioned these cycles up mountains in France and Switzerland. That's
not relaxing.
No, that doesn't. I mean, he said pushing yourself physically to such a level that your brain stops thinking about work. I can understand where he's coming from. He said it describes it as almost a kind of meditation.
Yeah, certainly.
To break yourself away. I know for me, I have to be busy just doing something away from the company.
Yeah, certainly. I think for me, it's anything away from a screen, whether I'm there developing or doing something on the business, you're always involved in front of a screen. So anything outdoors for me, and something I've wanted to do since I was 15, or when I was 15 actually, I had my a flying lesson, the first ever flying lesson. So ever since I was 15, I always wanted to fly and have a private pilot's license. So it's been kind of a dream of mine ever since I started the business, certainly, is to find enough time to be able to spend a couple of hours a week on flying lessons, but also find enough money because it's not cheap.
It's not
cheap at all. So I'm actually starting it this month, my first proper lesson. So
congratulations.
I think that's going to be my kind of a scapegoat.
So it's been 15 years coming.
Yeah, true.
To actually get yourself into a place that you can treat yourself.
Yeah, exactly that. And I hope as the business grows, like we said earlier, I can spend a couple of hours a week away from everything.
Up in the clouds.
Yeah, as far away from as possible. Completely cut off from any internet and stuff. So that's the hope. So yeah, I'm starting that this month.
That's amazing. So you really have had quite a journey, and you're constantly pushing yourself.
Yeah, certainly. I think I mean I wasn't the biggest fan of education, and although I did okay.
That comes up a lot in these. I've noticed that comes up a lot in these meetings. People saying, "Well, you don't need to go to university." I was like, "Careful, there might be people from uni watching this."
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, I'm a huge advocate of Bournemouth University, because I went to Bournemouth University.
So did I, and I am as well.
I try to give back as much as I can, whether it's kind of guest lecturing or helping them kind of shape the courses and stuff. But I also try and do a lot with the colleges, because we do take guys out of the college these days. And I think I look back on it and I go, I loved university because I honed my skills on something. So I was doing business and IT, which is perfect for me. Whereas at school...
Remarkable, really.
Yeah, true. Whereas at school, you were forced to do history and things like that. And I did not care a minute about those kind of lessons. So
you don't strike me as the sort of person that looks back anyway. You constantly focus.
No, that's very
even
true.
Mentioning you hadn't talked about building a business at 13 in some time. You're just sort of always going forward.
Yeah, no, that's very true. So it's you look at the education and things like that, and you're very regimented in stuff and driving towards something, and whether it's studying or ultimately you have exams at the end of it. And I think the flying is another challenge for me. Not that I've achieved everything that I want to with the business and things like that, but I suppose it's just starting off a new challenge that I kind of want to push myself out of my comfort zone a bit.
No, well, fair play to you. We would love to have you come back in 6 months or so and tell us how you got on, so providing you don't drop out the sky somewhere.
If I'm still here.
Maybe it's going to be an amazing challenge, and I'm thrilled that you have this long list of things that you want to tick off, and you've built a team that sound amazing, sound fantastic, and
I couldn't do it all on my own, not at all. As much as I try and do it all on my own, I couldn't do it all on my own. So
I think anybody that says that they've managed to achieve what they've got all on their own is just kidding themselves as well.
True,
None of us do. We all have spent our lives learning from others, whether it was whether we knew we were learning from others or was happening subconsciously. We've always been taking information in and learning from others around us.
Completely.
So, well, it's going to be very interesting to see where you go from here. If you get your license, sorry?
I look forward to coming back.
Well, I hope you do. And if you get your license, can you take me out and play?
Yeah, certainly.
Because I think that would be a good way to go.
Cheers. No trust.
None whatsoever. Luke, thank you so much for coming along today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers, bud.
Thank you.